Hello there, Saber Source fans! Micko here. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would I get another saber? Well, considering that this beauty comes with features at a fraction of the price you'd expect, give it a shot. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Saber Source Prime EcoPixel. Hello again, Saber Source fans. This is Micko, and we're taking a look at the Prime EcoPixel from Saber Source. So, for those who are familiar with the lineup from Saber Source, this Prime hilt will probably be very familiar to you guys. It's a very standard saber, usually in their more affordable series, right? So this one is in a nice, gorgeous gunmetal gray with a LED indicator here for power and your charging port right outside. So you're going to need that cable if you want to charge the batteries. Now, at the bottom, okay, is for the pommel, right? So this pommel actually can fit, I believe, 2 hilts. So if you want to make a staff with 2 of these, right, all you have to do is screw both ends of that saber to this one pommel. So that's great. So that's like a gigantic cost reduced for you guys. And over here underneath, I hope you can see that, that is your speaker assembly. Okay, so let me just put this back on and admire the view. So the gorgeous, gorgeous red eye basically calling us. And so we now know that the Prime has a string blade configuration. So what does that allow us? So that allows us those effects that you saw, that the blade slowly growing out, okay, with a light coming out of the blade bit by bit. So inside is basically a string of LEDs that can be controlled, okay? So at the bottom are basically the contacts. So I mean, you could reasonably you know, just unscrew the blade out, but I like the fact that this whole assembly can come off of it, and this is basically the part that connects it, right? And it's encased in this solid white plastic. I mean, it doesn't feel like it's gonna get crushed in my hand, which is important if you're handling like these electronics and bits and pieces. So these are just the contact points. You don't have to necessarily have them in a certain orientation. They already relate to the end of your string blade over there, so that's fantastic. Okay, and so I mean, I'm scared of just jiggling it, but you can't move this around. It can't seem to, like, you know, you can't casually pry this off, right? So that's basically how secure it is. I have to say, it feels pretty solid. Like you would be cautious with some of the more affordable sabers. Like, I don't know, maybe they're gonna jiggle or they're gonna break, but like give yourself a few seconds here. There's no shake other than the plastic blade or the string blade inside, but otherwise it feels or sounds at least pretty solid. Okay, so you have a bit of configurational system set up here with the button, but just standard press, and there you go, it ignites. Okay, and I'm just gonna move you blade side so you can see. I'm gonna try to turn it off, and so there. So that glowing or that extension and shrinking of the blade, that is one of the affordances. That's one of the great things you can get that normally in different providers would cost you upwards to about, you know, more than 10,000 pesos converted, 20,000 if you're getting like the prime stuff, like the ultra level stuff. But this one, okay, this particular Prime actually gives you something of that flavor, okay, at a fraction of the price. Like an amazing value, I have to say. Now, for me personally, I go to a temple, basically, where we practice swords, and I mean, I will always be scared of bringing any kind of string blade there because there's heavy impact, so that's maybe something for you to consider. However, that being said, no, these pieces, right? I mean, these individual parts of this entire saber, they all feel pretty solid in the hand, right? So, I mean, at least for casual play, if you're trying to have a costume for Halloween, if you want to have at least maybe a production where you want to have that special effect, okay, of that blade powering up, because like standard switches with some blades, they don't have that, right? But this one, you even have the clashing effects, right? So you can press a button and it does the flickering effect, or if you hit it hard enough, right? So yeah, if you hit it hard enough, it will flicker. There is a configuration for sound, so let me just try to get that going for you. Okay, so
loud sound.
So there's loud sound, from what I understand.
Softer sound.
There's softer sound.
No sound.
No sound. So let's just try to hear it for loud sound.
Loud sound.
And so you have that, right? And then the sound is coming from this bottom end, right? Let's turn that off. So, you know, pretty loud. Let's try.
Pause.
Oh, sorry.
Stable.
Went too far.
Softer sound.
Softer sound. Right. And so I went to the pulse style, which makes it pulse. Right. There we go. So, as you can see, you know, for the price, at the price point that you have, and for the features that you get, this is not a bad investment, considering that you get a lot of fun with it. You will be able to have a lot of fun with the sword. Of course, you know, if you are here doing this in a somewhat competitive manner or really hitting hard, my personal recommendation will be always to go to a stunt saber, so there are no electronics that can get like rattled or broken or whatever. But that being said, this is pretty great for casual play or, you know, low to medium impact combat, because it can, and it does pretty, you know, it does pretty well. I mean, it doesn't creak, it doesn't jiggle, it doesn't, I mean, other than the screw points, I don't feel any weaknesses here. It's not as heavy as perhaps some of the other sabers that I've reviewed, or some of the other sabers I've owned, but there is a heft to this, and it's a pretty good heft, meaning it will give you that feedback when you're playing with it, right? As a sword, as a proper weapon, or as a proper, you know, tool. So I will say, if you don't have the exorbitant budget or the high budgets for the more high-end configurations, but you still want to be able to play with sound and effects, the Prime EcoPixel is not a bad choice. In fact, it's a good choice. I'd even say it's a great choice to get. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact Saber Source. And that's it. See you on the next review.
The Force will be with you.